Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Do ensure you click on the subscribe button. Thank you and keep watching. So in today's tutorial, we'll be learning how I made this beautiful cargo pants. You can see how beautiful it came out. We'll learn how to cut and sew it. So let's start with the cutting. To begin with the cutting, I already made patched Ankara fabric. If you like to learn how to make this patched Ankara fabric, just refer back to my previous videos. I made a video on that. So we'll be working with this measurement: the hips, the crouch, the full length trouser, the thigh, and the laps. You can see the measurements there. So the first thing we'll do, if you are using a normal fabrics, you just fold into two. Because my patch fabric, I patched it into different sides, so I folded into two. Then I'll remove 2 inches for the band before I take my crotch measurement, which is 13 inches. So I'll just be marking 13 inches all the way down the fabric I folded into two. My hip line, I'll be using 9 inches. I also remove, don't forget your 2 inches, which is for the band. Always remember to remove your 2 inches. So I remove my 2 inches, which is for the band, 2 inches, which is for the, and marked 9 inches all the way down. So the first one is my hip line, while the second is my crotch line. I discovered that the chalk was not so visible, so I had to use paper to show you guys so you can understand. The next thing I'll do now for my flap, that's my crouch, I'll just take 3 inches all the way. 3 inches. I'll just mark 3 inches. 3 inches and give it a curve. You know how a flap curve is supposed to be. I know you can't see the chalk clearly, but I believe you can see a little bit. Just try. So the first thing is my thigh. My thigh is 28. 28 divided by 2, 14. For the thigh measurement, we'll divide by 2, 14. So I'll just mark 14 inches. 14. The thigh you divide by 2. Your thigh measurement is always divided by 2. 28 divided by 2 is 14 inches. Then I'll mark my 14 inches and add 2 inches allowance. I added 2 inches allowance. Then for the hip, my hip measurement is 44. The hip is usually divided by 4, that's 11. 44 divided by 4, 11. Then I marked 2 inches allowance. I'll just connect the hip line to the thigh, that's the crouch line. The waist, I will just use exactly the same measurement on the hip line because it's going to have an elastic. The full length of the trouser is 43. I will always remove my band, that's the 2 inches for the band. It was exactly 43 inches, so we didn't have any allowance. The next thing I'll go down below and mark 2 inches, then connect downwards 2 inches. I went down on the trouser and marked 2 inches, then marked the other part just straight. I just drew a straight line. The other part, there was no curve in the other part, but the side where the flap is, there was actually a 2 inches. I went in by 2 inches, then gave it a straight line. Then I'll just cut. And this is simply our front piece. No two ways about it. Very easy, very easy to cut. So this is for our front piece. For the back piece, I've also fold my fabric into two. Depends on what you are using to make your own. Me, I use the patch, so I folded my fabric into two. The back is always longer than the front, so I added 2 inches for my back. I added 2 inches in length. I made it 2 inches taller. That's for the bum allowance. So I added 2 inches all the way down. I also added 2 inches at the crouch line. I added 2 inches at the crouch line. Then I'll just connect it. The connecting and cut it. So while cutting it, you will see that I didn't allow the back on to enter the way the front is, to avoid it entering the bum when you are wearing it. That's entering your boots when you are wearing it. So I just slanted it. The curve is actually different from the front one. So that's it. I added 2 inches for that. Then I cut. That's the 2 inches I added up and the 2 inches I added at that side. So I just got it. The next thing I will do is just to go below the downside. I added just 1 inch. I added just an inch. So I'll just mark 1 inch and draw the line all the way downwards. Yes, just draw it downwards. The next thing I'll do is just use my scissors to cut it out. This is a very fast way to cut your trousers. So I just cut it out. The next thing, I traced the other parts. Exactly, the other part I didn't add anything to it. I just, the same thing that was in the front piece, I just traced it out on the back piece. The only place I added was the place having the crouch. That's the place having the flap. That's where I added some inches so that it could relax. So after 3 minutes, I will go in my trouser by 1 inch. So I'll just mark and use my scissors and cut it going by 1 inch. Then I also moved it out. Yes, so this is when you cut in and then you draw in. You make sure the 2 edges are the same thing. So I've gotten my front and back piece for this. What I did was to just simply cut the interface, that's the lining for it, because I would like to do a full lining. I just cut the lining. I'll also show you how I lined this so that the down, like the Ankara, I can draw the Ankara. So this is what I did. I just, yes, the first thing is you join the down part. After joining the down part, you pick a little, just fold a little inner and then sew all the way down. This process now helps to draw the Ankara inside. How would I put that? This process helps to draw the Ankara so that the lining will not be showing under the Ankara. So I'll just sew all the way down, sew the other part also. So you can see the little I drew. So that drawing now is going to make it have a very nice finishing, a very beautiful finishing. So I'll just sew all the way down, and so exactly that's my flap, everything how it is exactly, using just half of an inch. If you can use even 3/4, no sorry, if you can use quarter instead of half, it's also nice. But just make sure you sew it in a way that your material won't be shredding. So I'll just trim out our excess lining, our excesses, and just flip over. After flipping over, I'll move to my pressing iron. I'll move to my ironing table and just press it down. You can see how beautiful that is. This will make the lining not to even pop up down. The down of your dress will be giving. So what I did was to iron. Yes, I've ironed. I've also I repeated the same process for the 4 parts. That's the 2 fronts and the 2 back, and just iron. So the next process now is for our pocket. I'll just be marking 7 inches. Just watch closely, you will understand. And 1.5 inch. This is for our pockets. Then what I will do is just to notch. I notch there and also go down and also notch. This is our front piece that is going to have the pocket. So the next thing I'll do is to carry my interface, that's the gum stay. I'm using a gum stay here, and just press it down. Press the gum stay down. I'll use one of the fronts to show you what you will do for the 2 fronts. So after this process, you just go ahead and do for the second part of the front. So when I reach where I notched, I'll just cut out my interface, that's my gum stay, and make sure I press it down very well. Just press it down very well. Next thing I did, that place I notched, both places I notched, I'll just give it a sharp. Yes, I just press that. I notched that side and notched the upside. So I'll just press it that way and iron it. So this is how it's going to come out. You just iron down. So that's the front pocket. I'll just iron it. And I'll also do the same thing for the other part of the front. So this is simply the two parts of the front. So this is for the pocket. You just cut a box fabric. I lined this. I wanted everything in my trouser lined because it's a patch fab, and you know it has joining and joining, so I don't want all those joinings showing. So I wanted a neat work. That was why I lined everything. I used, for the pocket side, I used 7x9. That's 9 for the length, and the width is 7. I'll just join the front and the front, the back to the back, front to the front, and just use my pin to pin it down to the last, and just simply run a thread in that line that I ironed. You can see the line there. I'll just run a thread downwards. You just run the thread away downwards. When you reach where you notch, you stitch. When I reach where I notch, I stitch. I'll still carry my listing. That same place I notched, I will also notch this other part. That's the pocket part. The next thing I'll do is just flip over. Yes, so this is how it is. I'll just move over to my pressing iron it, then just stitch very close to the edge just to make it relax. After doing that, I'll also go to the other part and stitch it. Next thing I'll do is just to flip my pocket over. You can see how I did it to the front of the fabric. I'll just stitch and give it a slight curve. It depends. You can also leave your own box. It depends on how you want it. For me, I wanted my own to have a very slight curve, so I gave it a very slight curve. The next thing I did was to just pin it down. But while pinning down, you just need to get, if you remember, we used 1.5 inch, so I got the 1.5 inch also, 1.5, and just pinned it down so I could run thread on it. The next thing I did was to run thread on top. Just run thread. This same process I will repeat for the other part of the front piece. I will repeat the same process. Next I will do is just to stitch that downside so that it could relax and not move, no shaking, so it won't shake at all. I'll just stitch that part, and this is simply our front pocket. See how beautiful and how nice it came out. I'll repeat the same process for the other part of the other part. That's the other front, and I have the 2 pockets for the front. Oh, so beautiful. So I'll just press it down. Always try to make your work professional and neat. So I will just press it down. I'll carry the front part, one of the front parts, the one that matches with the back, and just place on the back and use my needle to just hold them. I will just take half of an inch because I've already taken like half inch when I was lining it. That's fixing the lining, and I think what is remaining for me is just half of an inch. So I just took half of an inch. I sewed half of an inch. Did it for the other parts too, the 2 parts. So we are almost getting there to the main cocoa. Then for the back pocket, I just made a very fanciful small back pocket. And for that pocket, I made this small. You can make your own bigger. I made my own 7 by 7, I think. Yes, 7 inches by 7 inches. then I will fold the up of it. That's for a nice finishing. I'll just fold the up. Folded the up, stitch, and folded. Yes, so that's the up part. Next thing you do is to move to your iron and just press it down. After pressing it down, now you give the pocket the shape you want. Just watch the way I did it. I folded one part, folded the other. So yes, I just did that one work, so I took it in a little bit more. So this is me simply giving the shape I want. You can choose to give another shape for your back pocket or whatsoever. I just decided to give this shape, and it's actually a small pocket, a small fanciful pocket. I just fixed it. So this is our back pocket. I'll just move to the back of my pants and mark 5 inches. It's going to start from 5 inches. I'll just place the pocket there, pin down, and go to my sewing machine and run thread around. I was trying to make this video shorten because it was too long, so it's kind of fast. I've simply fixed it. Yes, I'm done fixing. So the next is for our pocket. That's the cargo pocket. What actually makes it the cargo? That's this pocket. I'm going to make my own 4. As you saw the picture in before we started making the video, I showed you the anchor, this thing I'm supposed to use. So I did 8 inches by 8 inches. So I'm working for 4 pockets, 4 different pockets. So all my fabrics that I'm cutting now will be 4. So I did 8 by 8 inches. You should just create a box of 8 by 8 inches for 4. So this is me taking round to know the fabric that is going to go round, and it was 24. I just added 1.5 inches to it. So I'll just cut it open and cut 25 inches. I added just 1 inch, sorry. So I'll just mark 25 inches and cut 25 inches, and I've cut. Next thing is just to trim out before I know the width of what so I will be using 2.5. So I'll just mark 2.5 all through. This one is simply just a straight fabric, and we need 4 of it. Every piece now I'm cutting, we need 4, both for the pocket cover, the pocket itself, and the one that will go around the pocket to give it that, what should I call it, like give it the opening, like a space, a very good space inside. So I used 2.5 for that part, and I took 25 in. So for this next part, which is the pocket cover, I will also use the same 8 inches because it's simply covering. It should be the same size with the pocket itself. So I used 8 inches as the, will I call it the width? Yes. Then I'll just give it a nice curve. You can give it a different shape, it depends on what you want. Then I just give it a nice shape. The length I used here was 4.5. So I just went ahead and cut the lining for each of them. That's 4 pieces. All were 4 pieces, and this is me just taking the measurement, so you'll be sure again. So if you missed out on any measurements while I was taking that measurement, you see it. So I've lined the 4. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. They are all 4. I made sure all were four. Next thing I will do now is to take this one is actually for the space in between the pocket, so I'll just take it all the way round and round and round and round and round. So the ending part I'll just fold it. So this is, I'll move over to my machine and just stitch it. Stitch. Lucky enough, thank God I started from that side. I had the folding. So what I would do when I reach, I would just stitch, use my scissors and make a notch. I would just notch a little to where the thread stopped and just turn it so that it's going to relax. So this is the next thing I did. I continued. Yes, and went round. When I reached this part again, I also gave it a notch. Or just notch, turn over again. Just while doing this process, just calmly do it so that you have a nice walk. So I just, yes, at the ending I still had an excess, so I folded it in. So the other parts of the pocket, when I was doing it, I just folded both sides, folded a little to where it is. So I've done for the 4 parts. That's 4, and these are the covers. The next thing, I will just go to my fabric. I already created this thing. I used my pocket. The first pocket, I made it to start from 12 inches and I made it 7 inches because when I lined, I removed like half inch, so it's remaining 7 inches. So for the pocket, I made it 7 by 7, and for the cover, where I'll place the cover, I made it 1 inch. I just hope you watching the video will make you understand what I'm doing. Just watch carefully, even when I'm not able to see the right things that I was doing. But I did it, the cover, I gave the cover space. The cover's an inch. The cover is 1 inch above the pocket itself, and for the pocket I used 7 by 7. The next thing I will do is just to place the pocket now on it. Use my needle to just pin it down all the way around. After pinning it down, I will move to my sewing machine and just sew it down. I will repeat the same process for this second part of this pants and also the other side, because they are now 2. So I'll repeat it and make sure I fix the 4. I'll fix the 4. Then this is me placing the cover on that 1 inch gap. Just place the cover on the 1 inch gap and just cover. You can see how beautiful it is already. So I'll just move to my sewing machine and just take it around and around. Take it round. Take it round. As I'm sewing, I'm removing my pin. I'm sewing and removing my pin. So I'll just take it around till when I reach the finishing part. Oh, after that, I made this cargo. It was giving the vibes I wanted, a unique vibe. That's what it was giving. So I'll just run on the cover too. Also, I'll just stitch the cover down as I've stitched the pockets. Stitch it down. Yes, stitch. You can see our pocket is ready. This is the first one. I'll repeat the same process for the 4 pockets. I'll just fold, yes, and just stitch so as to allow the pocket relax. We just stitch the both. I fold that part also too and stitch just to make it flow fine and relax. We see how it has relaxed now. The next thing I did was to stitch the up of the cargo so that it would relax perfectly, like it will sit so well. So this is for one of the pockets. Repeat the same process. I fixed the second one. I fixed for this particular one. I fixed it to this other one. I fixed the 2 pockets. So I have 4 pockets already. See how beautiful it is. Next thing I'll do now is just to join. Yes, I'll just join the back to the back. That's the flap, the crotch, back, front. After I did that, I had this beautiful, and I also used 1/2 inch to join the center. Yes, the center of the both of them, I used 1/2 inch. So this is what we had after everything. You can see how beautiful our trouser is already coming out to be. Look how beautiful it is. So I'll just take the measurement of my waist. That's the measurement, because it's going to have an elastic. Take the measurement round, and we had 45 inches. So I'll just fold a fabric into 2 and mark, and I use 47 inches. That's for sewing allowance. The band is actually 2 inches, so I made it 2.5. The 1/2 inches is the sewing allowance. So I'll just go around. I'll just mark 2.5 inch all the way round. 2.5 inch, and just cut. After cutting, yes. So this is me taking the measurement again. That's 22.5. 45 divided by 2 is 22.5. I'll just open it and give. I just hope you understand what I'm doing, even if the voiceover is not okay. So I did that hole I'm making now. That's actually for the rope that I'm going to pass through. I know you understand just by watching. Just maybe where it's so fast, you can just pause the video and continue. So I'll iron it down and stitch. I did a stitch in that center side and close it back. The next thing I'll do was to take it round. That place where there's an opening is the place the rope goes through, and it goes to the center of the front. I've fixed the elastic now. I just hope you all know how to fix the elastic. So I just fixed the elastic. The way I fixed it, I had to create a hole for fixing the elastic. So now I'll just close that hole. And this is how, okay, this is me trying to fix the rope through the hole in the front. I'll just fix the rope and take it round. Take it round. I feel after this I'm going to do an individual tutorial and teach you individually. I'll see how beautiful our cargo is, like especially the ones you couldn't get here. I'll make individual videos. You can see how beautiful our patched Ankara cargo pants is on my body. Me slaying it. It was giving all vibes. Like, I loved it, and I hope you loved it. If you enjoyed this tutorial, I would like you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. I love you, and God bless you. Bye.